Good afternoon from New York. I'm your personal mystic, deep inside, so are you, and your best one. Anyway, today's subject, and thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Give an old man some purpose. That's your gift. Anyway, is religious communication evolving toward greater empathy and more about doing than believing? Eh. I no. Um, yeah, well, you'll notice that to draw greater crowds, churches are becoming the extended families they should have been all along. You see, um, and this is live. Uh, yeah, they're bringing in, trying to bring in families, especially with children. This is what all of the temples and the mosques and the synagogues or whatever, the churches, they're all trying, and the temples, trying to bring uh, families in, because it used to be at the center of town, right? Wherever you were, there would be the temple, the church, or whatever, and a lot of people went to it and socialized there, and found their sense of extended family. Well, that changed. And so religion has to adapt. And so it's reaching out in these ways to attract people in. They've also tried to be dating services, try to bring people in that, are lonely and start a family, maybe right there at their church or temple or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, so that function, this preservation of life and the wonderful empathetic path seems to be more front and center. More about caring and in some very particular ways. You might find that your churches nowadays, people who go there who are doctors and nurses, you know, that can help you, teachers, and who people who are older usually. Um, they're the ones who are trying to bring in the families. Um, so you see three kinds of caring, in any human being, and you're going to see it in the churches and the temples and so on. It's all about forms of empathy. So to keep talking about objective, creative, and compassionate. Well, the compassionate side, of course, is bring in the families and then trying to give support to the community. These are things of doing. Trying to help people find a mate, maybe. These are things that are not so much about what you believe, but about becoming more virtuous people um, through empathy, forms of empathy that you speak within yourself and outward to others. And they have their different ways of doing this. But that seems to be how they're evolving. Because some people say, well, it's the end of religion, because of some of the things that are in religion that are not particularly empathetic or didn't start off to be, or that were, they're outdated perspectives and not in line with science. So, people are leaving. But religions, other than the formalities, is their core attraction is more about what they do, more about the love that they express and receive. That flow of love. And when you're dealing with a flow of love, you need to keep that going in practical kind of ways, which means trying to be more objective. You need to be creative with it. You need to see things from different perspectives in order to really appreciate other people and yourself. And you need to, that's the creative empathy. And you need to be able to help people express what they really need and what they really feel, and to get to that and who they really are. And to get to that, you need to go past any damaged faith and love to what the real needs were. Because as I've said before, the damaged faith and love turns us towards symbolic forms of love. And as Jesus said, money is the root of all evil. What's money? What's mammon? It's symbolic need. And that's, the need to be in power is because there were times when a person was helpless. So, one way that Jesus depicted the problem was as an illness, that he was a physician, that it was about love and trust in love. And how do we get that? Get it through empathy. So we're always going to need extended family forms, and religions tend to supply that, and you can expect that. But as they evolve, they become more and more similar. There's the Red Cross and the Red Crescent, just to name doing, one example of two religions doing the same kind of acts of love. Yeah. Does it really matter whether it's uh, this kind of religion or that religion from which the love comes? The more people move toward greater empathy, the more they realize that, well, that's not true. But how are religions evolving? Well, they come together and work on projects that help humanity. So, in that way, there's usefulness. I'll give you'll see that in the Unitarian Universalist approach, where there's people of all kinds of belief and no belief. Well, what's the glue that holds that together? Think about it. It's expanded empathy. certainly isn't hate and fear. Expanded empathy, caring in objective, creative, and compassionate ways. And compassion um, is how people feel safe to express what they need in the first place. And objectivity is how they focus on what they need and prioritize and so on. And creative is how you look at things from different perspectives. Look at um, do you really need this now, or do you need something later? Or um, in the love flow, um, how do I relate to important others? Um, and that will require different ways of seeing things. Creativity is a great gift. It's gives us artfulness, and you have to be kind of artful to bring together a lot of people with different beliefs mm, and whether that's atheism or theism or whatever it is, it takes a great deal of creativity to be able to relate to people with different beliefs. But at the core of all of this is human need and the need to fulfill it. Love. Love is what holds us together. And love requires more than just work inside yourself. It requires acting on the love that you find and making sure that the love flow is not just within you, but around you. And that means, associating with people, um, you're expanding your comfort zone. So start with yourself and your family and your friends, and or with the group that holds a lot of what you believe, and expand from there. And although organized religion is going to be a little slower than some people would like to see, nevertheless, they provide a useful function. And there's even atheist churches, so there's something for everyone out there. And so, is it evolving? I think so. Is it moving toward greater empathy? I believe so. And that is the mystic path, is basically at its core greater forms of empathy. And Krishna, for instance, God at play was a very creative kind of comfort or love. Um, Jesus was all about compassionate empathy. No one loves more than this, that they'll uh, give their life, you know, for a friend. And and maybe for an enemy, you know. Do good to those who despitefully use you. Bless those that curse you. These are things that Jesus was behind. Now, with the Buddha, although all these different individuals uh, have all of these in them, that's the main focus that I'm talking about. With Buddhism, it's objective empathy, you know, a very objective approach. And yeah, so people will gravitate to one of those ways. Muhammad was about trust. Um, who trusted what? Well, what is a higher self or personification of the absolute truth or higher power? Um, well, that's connection is through virtue, of course, and this virtue, you know, this requires trust. You you have to grow that trust, which is your comfort zone, with objectivity, creativity, and compassion, and grow that. And that's the direction religions are going. That's how they're evolving. There's a greater amount of that. You won't, where there's always pockets where religion has not advanced. And you see a lot more hatefulness, a lot more punishing attitudes, and so on. And sometimes you'll see people that are worshiping greed and saying that that's in line with the great mystics. Well, not at all. That I can see. Um, not at all. You know. So that's an interesting thing, and I think in comedy, George Carlin sometimes comes across as rather rude or whatever, or rough. Is actually a very empathetic person, and in his heart, I mean, he's just, but he understands how people drift away from those those kinds of empathy. Um, of course, he um, makes fun of where things are not very objective. He's definitely more about doing than believing. Um, at a church that I formed a long time ago with some others, there was one of the founders was a physicist, and what he said was, I says, what's this church about? He says, well, I think it's more about doing than believing. In a nutshell, well, brilliant people say brilliant things in short sentences. So if you're expecting that from me, yeah. But I do have a few things that I know. I picked up quite a bit from him and from many others, and it's my job as an elder and the job of anybody, including my fellow elders, to share what they've learned in life with the younger generations and to help them grow in their forms of empathy in practical, useful ways. And as you see this growing trend toward empathy and all of its forms, you're also seeing a merger happening with the field of psychology and religion. You'd think, no, because, the sometimes very unfounded sorts of beliefs that you find in religion. And the other is an attempt psychology is attempting to be more scientific. But there's a pull between them. There's the direction is toward these things. in both cases, how do you get there? It's a more healthy way to be. And you also see it in democracy, because there you've got all this diversity of people requiring you to have creative empathy, and and to expand that and to expand your compassion and empathy for more people, um, and not, for a democracy to work, you can't just care about the poor, you can't just care about the rich, you can't just care about the middle class, you've got to care about everybody. And that's how democracy can work. Otherwise, it begins to unravel because you're messing with the love flow. The love flow has to be there. There has to be a little bit of hope in the game for everybody. And toward this greater hope, I believe religion is growing. And as I said, it's becoming more practical, more about doing. And therefore, you're seeing a lot of overlap between what religions try to do and what psychologists try to do. And so they're kind of coming together. What I say is that as they come together, we're seeing a thing called objective, I would call objective um, mysticism. Creating objective mystics who are very objective, very involved with the politics of life and how to make things better. They are activists. The great mystics were all activists. Um, and we can do better and better as we evolve. So don't just look to the past for great mystics. You are one of them. And you just have to realize it. And you can do that by entering the path of growing your forms of empathy and your forms of awareness of yourself and your needs. And whether you take the path of religion or psychology or whatever you do, or both, that's the path of the mystic. And science is perhaps the greatest objective mystics there is. And it's increasingly, we are more about the love flow, more about caring, empathy, than we are and acting on that, of course, than we are about being attached to rigidly to any belief system. I think most people are not so attached today as they used to be, and there isn't so much of an us-them kind of picture. Where there is, you see a lot of problems because that's tribalism. That doesn't usually end well. Where people, you find a primitive tribe, and it was commonly said that when you find them, they will say things like, "We're the human beings. We're not sure about those people out there." Well, objectively, we're all human. Yeah. With a lot in common with the apes, just ask Sapolsky. Dr. Sapolsky. the famous biologist. Look him up. Um, for your journey, I wish you very well. And I wish you to taste that evolution and to become it and find the great mystic that you are in your own way. So, as I like to say at the end of my presentations, namaste, which means that the love flow and the potential to grow it that's in me honors that in you, that connection that I feel within the universe that dissolves all rigid concepts of self. That in me honors that in you. We are one in the universe, part of the universe, one with it. And we should seek that common ground and that unity always. That is spiritual growth. And all of that in the beautiful word, namaste. And so, I hope that your day goes well. And that something in this has reached that magnificent, beautiful point of oneness in you. A oneness with all things and with a beauty so wonderful it brings tears to the eyes. Through the eyes of the artist, which is also you. So, namaste, y'all.